My name is Dave Heischel. I'm the president and CEO of Eagle Technologies. Welcome. This is part 5 of our 30 minutes of cyber resiliency. And today we are talking threat scan. So we appreciate everybody's attention. It's been a great 5-part series. And a couple infomercials, if you don't mind. Eagle is a data center VAR. We really take the approach of defense in depth, design in depth, recovery in depth, and so forth. Defense in depth is what we'll talk about a little bit today, right? We don't just have one solution to keep the bad actors out. We want to build an overall outcome of how we manage security and so forth. The same is really true for recovery in depth, and we've really been preaching this for the last 20 years. It's no longer a case, or it's never really been a case where you can just back up a file and recover it as your only source of defense in the case of some type of incident with that data set. So recovery in depth can mean a lot of different things, and we can talk about that on some different sessions. But the overall philosophy is we need to design in depth. So we need to take all of the factors into consideration: how we defend against the bad actors, how we recover if there is some type of a data breach or a data incident, and how all those products work together, because islands of products just don't work. So we've learned that a long time ago. We have to have products that play well in the same ecosystem, and Eagle does a great job at that as well. So one more infomercial. We do need to take steps to appropriately protect our data. One of those is a Commvault hardening engagement that we've done for the last couple of years. If you've done one, it might be time to do a quick health check. We do those at no charge. If you haven't done one, please reach out. Cyber threats change all the time, and we need to adjust to the new features within Commvault and so forth to make sure that we are protected against those. So reach out, chat with me. My email's right there. Happy to have a one-on-one discussion. Again, a recheck or a health check is at no charge, but if you haven't done it before, please reach out and we can talk to you about what that engagement looks like. It's extremely important. These bad actors are going after your backup environment. So enough of the infomercial. Let's get to the meat of today's topic. So couple familiar faces. Patrick Mann is helping today. Anthony Schweitzer is helping. He's on the road, so I apologize if he has a little bit of background noise. And an old friend, Kurt Moyer, is going to help us from Commvault. I've known Kurt for a couple decades almost now. It seems like maybe not quite that long, but pretty close. And he's going to talk a little bit about the topic today, which is another layer to the onion that Commvault is providing with their ecosystem. So, and that is threat scans. So I'll maybe pitch the first question over the fence to Patrick, but we talk about how important backup and recovery is, but we also really need to consider how important knowing that data is in a good state or a safe state, so that when we do a restore, we're not restoring, more problems, right? So I'm assuming Threat Scan does that. I'm not assuming. I know Threat Scan does that, but what's your take on how you having those conversations with customers, if you don't mind, Patrick?
Yeah, well, one of the things that we start out with is talking about that hardening engagement, Dave, because really, everything that Commvault does, they do well out of the box. But one of the things that they've always tried to do is make it easy to deploy and things of that nature. Because of that, there's a lot of security holes. If you deploy anything by the default standard, we're going to find, people are going to know about that. So hardening that environment is the first thing we talk about when we talk about protecting that back-end data. Then we start to talk a little bit more about what Commvault as a base product brings to the table, right? Threat Scan is a great addition. It's going to provide us another layer to that onion, to your point, of protection and ensuring recoverability. But we have all these other features within inside of Commvault that are already doing a lot of these things, and we've started to create, Threat Scans meant to identify all of the types of anomalous issues and really start to hone in on what we can do to affect recovery. So things like backup file size anomaly and file change anomalies, we've always been doing that. We've had those thresholds set within your environment, so you get alerted when one of your clients, all of a sudden has a change rate way out of bounds, right? That's a really good indicator of compromise usually. So Commvault's doing a really good job in the base product, making sure that we understand what our clients are doing, what that file and what that file integrity is and things of that nature. So out of the box, we're putting those things in place. Um, but as we bring in, the ancillary products, things like Threat Scan, we're going to bring more functionality and more high fidelity alerting and reporting, and really the ability to eliminate the possibility that we reintroduce any bad files or folders. The threats, we don't want to reintroduce those threats on a recovery. So we're starting to look at other information around that stuff, looking at the backup data itself to see what we can do to identify potentially malicious code, bad encrypted files, etc.
Well, I mean, really, backup data is just a different backup set, right? So we have, a lot of folks out there will have some type of antivirus software. They'll have some type of endpoint detection, those type of things going on. So they may think, well, why do I need Threat Scan? But Threat Scan is really addressing a completely different data set, right? It's your backup data, and just like we just talked about, where signatures change and so forth, we can apply those latest and greatest signatures to the backup data set now, that may not have been available at the time of the backup. So it seems like it's, again, that antivirus on steroids almost.
And let's add to
Well, I
that,
also like, go ahead,
just,
Kurt.
just in addition to that, because even with AI and the proliferation of AI these days, executing these ransomware attacks, there's about 12 different ransomware groups that are bypassing EDR systems, XDR systems. So being out of band, having a secondary copy of that information, and being able to scan that for signature with AI, right, to detect, let's say, polymorphic malware, shape-shifting malware that changes. So a combination of signature and AI detection is really key, right, to having those multiple layers so you can cleanly recover.
Yeah,
Right.
Yeah,
really
and
good.
I
Go
was
ahead.
going to say about historically, you've had some division and some silos between the security team, the backup team, and being able to look at this holistically as how do we protect the company? How do we get back online quickly? How do we play nice together? And not only that, but complement each other. And I think that's one thing that Commvault's doing a really good job of here, calling it ResOps, but the idea is working together from a security standpoint, data recovery. Just because we might have different tools, how do we interact together? How do we pull in your EDR indicator of compromise into our platform to give you better anomalous detection and why we think this VM might be a threat? So it's cool to see that type of tie-in between the organizations versus having these silos.
It's interesting to me that the backup administrator, we joke that used to be the first entry-level job when you came to a company, and now it's one of the most important. But now we're seeing a shift where that backup team almost moves under security as opposed to infrastructure, right? They're such, to your point, they're so tied together now, that they really need to collaborate a lot more than they ever used to.
Yeah, it's really
because
been
both
a
of them are
good
touching
shift.
almost every system. Yeah, both of them are almost touching every system in the organization, whether it's endpoints or servers, whatever that might be. And I have customers that the security team did not catch the breach. The backup team actually figured it out. I mean, it's really interesting when you start seeing that shift. And again, how do we work together?
Mhm. Very good.
Yeah. You mentioned the AI integrations. I mean, we're talking about AI that we're using AI to train our threat scan and identify those malware detection signatures and things like that, using third-party products, using our security teams, and really even and feeding that data into our security ecosystem, right? So we can start to work on incident response and making sure that we can recover faster. And part of that really is to identify last known good type of data that we can recover. So really what we want to do is ensure that we can find and eliminate the threats in that data set, right? We want to make sure that we can understand not only the data that lives on our systems, but in that backup data, so that in the instance that we need to do those recoveries, that we know that we can recover data that is,
Yeah.
we're not going to reinfect our systems.
So let's give Kurt a little bit of time to walk us through this, if you don't. Well,
Sure.
if you don't mind, Kurt, can you
Yeah.
give us a quick overview, and then I know that you have a little bit of a demo that you can talk through as well.
Yeah, thanks, Dave. So yeah, really, if we look at what we were just talking about, there's a couple layers. There's built-in anomaly detection, many different layers, MIME type mismatch, backup size change that you mentioned. Also with dedupe, right? So if you're not getting dedupe and your backup size is increasing, we'll flag those. So those file type anomalies. And then we also have operational anomalies, right? Are your run times, your success, your failures. You have an RPO of 4 hours. If it's hitting that RPO every single day, and then all of a sudden that starts shifting. So think of it as a multi-layer. So file anomalies, operational anomalies, and then eliminating threats. Because as we move through the layered security, everybody talks about zero trust. We just talked about partner integrations, things like Palo Alto, Cortex, Sentinel, Darktrace, Netscope, Splunk. There's a ton of security partners that we have where we can share that telemetry back and forth. So if we see something happening on a production server and CrowdStrike sends us a notification into our Commvault Threat Scan dashboard, we take the anomalies, we take partner signals, and we take those AI and signature-based scanning to make sure that we can clean those backups out so that you can perform clean recovery very quickly. And as we started introducing that, we started that in file systems and in virtual machines, our air gap protected workloads, so our SaaS offerings that offer immutable storage outside of a tenant. And then we built in a sandbox, essentially our clean room recovery capability allows us to take and recover those and do scans to make sure the data in the application stacks can communicate that they're clean. And it's really an end-to-end orchestrated platform at this point. So it's been a monumental shift over the last 3 years, I would say. We can go to the next slide.
Yeah, Kurt, that's a really good point. I mean, we've been talking Threat Scan for a year and a half, maybe 2 years now, and we've thought that the concept of cleaning and understanding that backup data was really important. But the integrations that we're starting to see, especially after Commvault shift 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago, the integrations in the recovery process, it's not not an out of band type of situation anymore. We have more operational functionality, and that's what's really exciting about this.
Correct. Yeah, we're building for outcomes.
Yeah.
And really taking in a lot of our customer feedback. So like you say, probably 2 years ago, right, we started with the threat intelligence piece, threat analysis, and we've taken our customer input, we've shifted how we, display it. So you'll see this new Threat Scan dashboard here. This is where we're going with the product. And ideally, it gives you an understanding of, hey, do I have critical resources that have malware? So in the upper corner, right, you can see in red, and then there's orange, high risk, medium risk, low risk. So we give you multiple telemetry points of anomaly detection, threat detection, malware, encryption, corruption, right? Encryption and corruption exist. They're not necessarily malware, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we want to catch all of those, give you a view of a dashboard that gives you, hey, what's scanned, what's not scanned yet. But importantly, even when you go to restore, be able to scan at that restore time, get the latest updates so that we can clean that malware. To your point earlier, Patrick, we don't want to reinfect the environment. And that's really what we're doing because we're cleaning that out. We have immutable storage, right? So worm lock storage. And it's really important to make sure that those threats can't get reintroduced. So this dashboard here is a whole new look and feel and consolidation where we have our overview dashboard, and then we'll talk about different things like plans, events, how I deal with malware, and how we've introduced AI into that as well to help identify those threats and give more context to the backup teams and the security teams. And then also having those threat alerts, right, for any of the anomalies, the signature, the AI scanning, have those go to the security team's tools, plus take in feeds from them. So like you said, we have a single mindset between SecOps and IT ops.
Yeah. And really,
I like how you can
go ahead.
I like how you can send that data to the SIM platform and have some SOAR ability where it's like, hey, we see this VM has a potential compromise. Let's disable data aging on that to ensure that we have all retention available for that VM to do analysis or be able to recover back from. So it's nice that you can integrate those two to take some automatic remediation.
Right. And a good point, Anthony, is if I'm a backup administrator and I have alerts going off or I have partner signals coming into the Commvault dashboard, I may or may not be aware because security is not the central focus of what backup administrators had been dealing with for the last, let's say, 25, 30 years. But giving that control, so if I send an alert, let's say into a Palo or a Microsoft Sentinel or a CrowdStrike, having orchestration layers in there so that the security team can disable data aging, they can kill user sessions, kill identity providers, gives them some security controls after they correlate different events happening in the environment. And again, that's the testament to the partnerships that we have, and we keep growing that expansion. We've added probably 25 different security vendors to our portfolio stack for SIEM, SOAR, XDR integration. So it's been game changing for us because it really brings those security teams to the table. And having it automated and pre-built in the marketplaces allows simple integration.
Yeah. One of the outcomes that we're really focusing on here is the ability to recover more quickly, right? I mean, the fact that we don't have to iteratively recover data to decide whether it's clean or not, we have a better understanding of what that is, makes that outcome more reachable. We're going to shrink our time, the time it takes for us to recover those workloads when we know what is recoverable and where that data is. So that's the outcome we're looking for primarily, right? Reduce that downtime, ensure that recovery happens, and ensure that it happens in a clean state.
Absolutely.
Yep.
So what would we do without AI analysis, right?
Yeah. We can't
Because
we can't have a webinar without saying AI at least 5 times, right?
So number one, we do a lot of things in AI, right? We have generative AI. We have Arlie as our assistant. We call him Arlie, right? So Arlie is trained on Commvault. He follows responsible AI, doesn't look at any customer data. But what he can provide is a lot of different things. I'm not going to go through the whole list, but from this standpoint, when we're looking at threats, we want to understand, as you can see on this screen here, in the upper right, you'll see Lockbit 3.0 from Black Hat, right? So I have an app server up there, and we found a couple threats. We found them through, let's say, encryption happening, YARA rules, and our signature and AI threat detection. And then that information goes out to the security team, and the backup administrator themselves can look at some of those insights. So they get a summary of what the threat is, the description of it, gives you the different hashes. Hashes are important too, because a lot of security teams, we added YARA rules and hash injection for security teams. So if they want to search for a specific file hash within the backups, they have that capability. If they want to use YARA rules to do hunting, they can do that as well. But we really took it already to a next level with the AI and signature base built into it. But really it tells you, hey, we're using one or more of these detection methodologies, and here's how we found Lockbit. Here's what it impacted as far as Commvault jobs, and then other threats or other backup jobs, I would say, or hosts that were infected as well. And that, if you think you had that conversation about, RPO, RTO, in a cyber event, RPO, RTO go out the window, right? It's more about mean time to recovery at that point because you don't know what files are infected. You can't just go back and say, well, I'm going to go back 3 days and recover all my VMs, hoping that when you spin them back up that you're not reinfecting the environment. So really understanding, hey, how do I minimize and remediate the threats within the data protection layer and then be able to recover that information out cleanly so it doesn't get reinfected. And then adding this AI analysis to it to summarize, right? We don't want to cause extra burden, I would say, trying to hunt and peck and say, well, I don't know what Lockbit is, and doing your, ChatGPT searches or your Google searches. We take our AI executive summary, and our Arlie will sum all of that up for you, basically in an executive summary of what's been happening with that client, and it gives you that data insights that you can then share with e-staff or a security team as well.
Yeah, it's a great, being able to communicate the threat, communicate the impact, and communicate the remediation steps, especially upstream, is something that, a lot of customers struggle to do. And having this executive summary gives us a really great place to start to have that conversation and keep people in the know. So I really appreciate that too.
Did you just say you had to dumb it down for me, Patrick? Is that what you just said?
Yeah, well, when I speak to my executives, I always make sure that I'm using small words. Yeah.
I loved you a softball there. I'm sorry.
Absolutely. Thanks, Dave.
And so then we come to clean recovery. So this is game changing too. So as we just talked about, right, there's 3 different options here. You have manual recovery. But what we're doing with even manual, even with synthetic, and then I'll talk about forensic as well. But this is just what I talked about. If I want to go back 3 days, recover a VM, and I have no idea that it's clean, that's what you would encounter if you didn't have Threat Scan, right? You just don't know what bad files exist within that particular backup set to recover, especially in the middle of a cyber event. So you see the different colors there. I have blue or low risk, I have medium risk and yellow, but we give you that RPO point. So if you look at like Wednesday, right, at 6:45, we know that that's the latest clean backup with no malware, no encryption within it. So we're giving you a targeted recovery point so you're not guessing, right?
Yeah.
And then secondarily, we have synthetic recovery, which is game-changing patent. And what that does is if I have multiple backup jobs and I have multiple files within all of those different backup jobs that have different malware or threats detected within them, how do I get that whole data set back without ruining my RPO, right? That actual point in time copy there. We do that because we synthesize the latest uncorrupted version of each file through each backup to rebuild your data set to recover back out. And this is very unique to Commvault. It's a new technology that we implemented, and it's actually our default best practice as well. And then at the last layer is forensic recovery. So forensic security teams, like I said, we have clean room recovery. Clean room recovery gives you a sanitary, on-demand, clean environment in the public cloud, AWS, Azure, GCP coming. Same with on-premises as well, where a security team can dump all the malware, all the threats into a sandbox and explode that malware, look at what that malware is, but also get access to all the different files themselves. We don't want users or backup users, downloading any malware within there. So a forensic recovery is an out of place only, either going to a clean room or to an out of place isolated, obviously keep it isolated network away from production. And that's really gives the security teams different options for recovering into view all the different threats within it.
Well, yeah, we have the ability to use that data to understand the impact of the breach or how the breach happened, right? I mean, the forensics is the key here, and keeping that data the way it is so that we can have that after action review, improve our security posture, and ensure that we're doing the things to mitigate those risks moving forward is a key component to this.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, synthetic recovery.
As you move into,
well, I was just going to say, Anthony, that synthetic recovery, you can't hit on that enough. I mean, restoring the latest clean file as an automated process is huge. They used to have what's called intelligent recovery. So incrementals only restored the file one time as opposed to restore, delete, restore, delete. This is taking that to the next level, obviously. Very, very cool technology.
Yeah. Great stuff.
Yeah, that's what I was going to harp on as well. As Kurt pulls up the demo, I guess, going to the next slide, but it's interesting just to say it a different way. You are lowering the RPO as low as possible for each individual file, regardless of if it's protected as a whole VM. And that's so unique because most people are used to the malware that is trying to encrypt every file as much as possible. So it's kind of like, oh, I just have to throw away this whole VM and recover it all back. But there's also the slow moving threats that might be corrupting single files a little bit at a time. And that means you don't have to, throw away a whole week's of work. You just are throwing away the last bad version of that individual file. So very unique and really game saving. So
yeah. All right, so let's go into I got a couple minute demo here. I'm just going to walk you through this. All right. So this is the new threat detection dashboard here. And really what this does is, like I said, gives you critical. This one it says here, malware detected, encryption, an anomaly, and a partner signal, maybe an XDR push in from CrowdStrike or Darktrace or Netscope. Or this one has encryption only, multiple anomalies, and a partner signal. So different ratings based on risks. Where threat scam, where it's disabled, right? So you can enable it, disable it. You can run it actually too on a scheduled basis, or you can run it ad hoc. You can run it at restore as well. But this really gives you your results. How many clean files were detected? How much malware was detected? And then you could drill into these, and this would be encrypted here as well. So as this moves through, you can see here that it also gives you telemetry on where, right? So different resource groups. So these could be your, threat detection, your Azure VMs, prod, DR, you name it. And then it gives you where those resources are located around the world. So if you're multinational, and then when you click into the critical risks, this will filter this out for you. You get the resource name, you get the anomalies here, you get the partner signals. So we've consolidated everything into this dashboard. So you can see I have 604 malware, I have encryption events, and the status of that has been scanned. As I move forward, clicking into the resource itself, this is where we look at different telemetry pieces. So what backup job, oops, go back here, sorry. What backup jobs were impacted? What backup jobs had encryption and the number of files, and then any partner signals. So we have built in for CrowdStrike, Falcon, Darktrace, and Netscope CTE within there. And up at the top, you can delineate through, hey, these are built-in operational anomalies. These are file type anomalies. These are threats that are either malware, encryption, corruption, and then partner signals as well. So if you have multiple security partners, you'll have those feeds come in. The idea behind a partner signal is if it comes into the environment as a notification to say, hey, server, AO1 has been possibly hit with malware, it will send an alert to Commvault, and then the backup administrator can then run threat scan on the backups, disable data aging for those backups, and be prepared to recover right as incident response teams are being deployed within the production environment. Make sure AD is cleaned out, make sure that the bad actors out of the environment. And then we give you a preview of the different threats. And as you can see here, there's still different telemetry. So we might have an encryption threat. We have a malware and encryption event happening here. And then some of the details of that, the threat type and the scan and the path and the hash on there, and some of the impacted jobs. And then as we move through a bit deeper inside here, partner signals. This is really where you would see, let's say, an OS credential dump attack brought to us by CrowdStrike Falcon and this anomaly. So you can see when it was first seen, total hits, and then I could go into the backups on this node and actually then say, okay, I need to maybe run some data aging and run threat scan against that. So it supports 3 different ones at this point. We'll continually add to that.
Yeah,
and then as we move
those partner
through,
signals, real quick, Kurt,
yeah,
those are they don't definitively commit, convict any one file or folder, but they're really there to help validate what we're seeing within the threat scan environment. Is that correct?
absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely, yes. More telemetry points, and then this is really the options you have. You can come in here and see the little blue points here. For these are clean recovery points already picked out on a calendar view. I'll just go back here a second. And then you can pick the recovery time. So we're automatically picking the latest clean backup for you and giving you different recovery points. And then down here, by default, would be synthetic. So this is all your most recent uncorrupted versions of every file across every backup, minimizing data loss. And that's really a best practice, like I had mentioned. And then forensic, if you want to dump everything to a clean room, you can come in and do that either out of place or a clean room, and then pick your clean room. So this is another technology where we have an on-demand sandbox clean room up in the public cloud, along with our Air Gap Protect storage as a service layer. So end-to-end automation from protecting the data through analyzing for anomalies, to remediating threats, to cleanly recovering, to then giving you forensic validation as well with a clean room, and then cross telemetry. So you can see how that flow left to right really gives us a cyber resilience advantage. And it's really, I've been to Commvault twice. I came back here 6 years ago, and I'll say that the technology, the maturity of the technology, and the fact that we keep innovating and stepping up as a leader in the industry is a testament to our innovation and our patents and our teams and partners like yourselves at Eagle.
Yeah, thanks, Kurt. And there's a reason we left this one for last, is it's the integration into the entire data protect set. It gives us the outcomes using the clean room, using air gap protect, threat scan, the anomalous detections inside of the platform, all of the features and functionalities that we can bring to bear from Commvault's source code. We want to make sure that recoverability is quick, it's we have high fidelity recoveries, and that we can trust that data is clean at the end of the day. So that's where we end up with a quicker recovery, a cleaner recovery, and a recovery that we can begin to restart our business on.